Good morning. It's still dark here where Penny and I are, and oh dear, I'm ready to start the day. I don't think Penny is. It's cold and she is sleepy, so she's going to hang out with us as I share with you today. But I wanted to have a chat with you, just a face-to-face, about a post that I wrote earlier. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to ashleyivester.com and get the context of what I'm sharing. It's the latest post that was published. I wrote that post because I have struggled for a long time with what is expectation and hope. And it's as if I've always thought of the two as two different colored pieces of Play-Doh that have been meshed together. They're not the same thing, but I've always kind of thought of them as the same thing. And I've found it difficult to make a distinction between them. And this is something that I'm currently trying to grasp. This is something that I'm currently processing through. So this is not going to be a flawless expectation. There are those of you that are further in your walk and you may listen to this and think, I think I could challenge her here, or I think I could help her understand there. And if you're one of those individuals, please do. I want to learn. I want to grow. I've always framed expectation in a negative light. So when I hear phrases like, have realistic expectations, I thought, well, that just means that I have to lower all of my expectations and think the worst in other people. And I guess that's mostly because when I think of having realistic expectations, I tend to think in the framework of, okay, so instead of hoping for the best in this person, I need to realize that, I've had several encounters with them in which selfishness has been displayed. And so I'm just gonna have to expect selfishness from them. And I've thought of that negatively, but I'm learning that even in that, there's a positive, because what I could say instead is, yes, there's a consistent pattern of selfishness, and that's very hurtful. And my realistic expectation as I enter into a new encounter with them is that there's a strong possibility I may experience selfishness, but I can also spend some time spiritually, emotionally, and mentally preparing for this interaction so that I can better respond in a way that glorifies God, even if it's just in the thoughts in my heart towards this person. But I am so excited to start to hopefully better understand that expectations are not always negative. I was thinking recently about how we all go through different circumstances, and whether they be good or very difficult for us, we can expect that God will, for example, demonstrate his faithfulness. He says he is faithful. He says he will always be faithful. He says he does not lie and he does not change. So even though I may be walking into unknowns, there is a known that I can expect. I'm finding that expectations can also bring healing. Expectations can bring healing because it's, I think, a form of acceptance. I can accept the way that something is right now, and I'm not expecting, aka demanding, that this change as I would want it to, because I know that God is sovereign and that God has allowed this and that God is doing something. So I'm framing it in a new sense of just acceptance. This is what it is right now. But as I've struggled with where does hope fit in that in the past, that's where I've struggled, because I thought, well, then I can't have any hope for the future. This is just the way it is. And that has been a good thing for me to start to examine and to learn to redefine and reframe, because I can accept this is the way the current circumstance or situation is right now. And my expectation is that this may not change, but my hope is that it will. But either way, I know that God is doing something, and I know I can trust him. There were two verses I thought of as I was thinking along these lines, and both are probably very familiar to you. The first is in Isaiah. It's Isaiah 40, verse 31, and it says, "But those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not become weary. They will walk and not faint." Trust in the Lord no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what is going on. And then we have these promises of what God will do if we're trusting in Him. And that shifts my expectation. My expectation, regardless of the situation, is that if I trust you, Lord, you're going to do these things. That also strengthens my hope that no matter what is happening, God, you're going to do these things. This is for good. I love in Philippians 1 the confidence that we can hear in Paul's voice when he says in verse 6, I am sure of this, that he who started a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. The expectation is, I am sure that no matter what, God has started a good work in you, and it will be completed. My hope, even though I can't see exactly why everything is happening the way it is that, perhaps I'm hoping that there's a different ending from what I can see right now. But my hope is renewed. My hope carries on because I know that God has a plan. I know that God is working right now. And I know that I can trust Him. So even though I may be accepting current circumstances and situations that I don't necessarily love, that I don't necessarily define as good, my hope is that I will see Him do a great thing in and around me that will also glorify